Hey guys, we're going to review the 4-move checkmate, also known as the scholar's mate. We want to make sure that we know how to defend against this. One of the key parts to starting the chess game. So a lot of times we'll see this move, and white is trying to checkmate black on this square right here. This is the f7 square, and the reason this is the weakest square for our pieces is because black has no pieces, no bishops, knights, rooks, or queens defending that square. So that square is very weak. Now, if black just plays here, white can move his queen to f3, and now we have this checkmate threat. The threat is moving our queen all the way up to f7, and that will be checkmate. If black comes here, white comes down, checkmate. We want to make sure we know how to defend against this. So let's review what we're supposed to do here. Now, if white plays this on his second move, black can really stop all checkmate threats right away with one simple move. And it's just this move here. And when we talk about defense, right, we talked about a lot of the same things. We're talking about blocking, defending a square, capturing pieces. This knight is going to stop the queen's path. It's going to block the queen's path to this square. So if the queen moves here, this is not a checkmate threat anymore because the knight blocks the queen's path to the f7 square. This is a common defensive theme. If the queen moves here to once again threaten checkmate on f7, this does not work because black can simply capture with his knight. Now, if white tries this move order, queen to f3 first, again, black can just play the same move here. Black can just bring his knight out to f6, and once again, we've blocked the queen's path to f7. So that move right away stops the 4-move scholar's checkmate, that simple knight move. Now, there's one other trick here, and we have to be concerned about this move. And this is an opening trap, and we want to make sure we know how to defend against this move right here. When I've showed this to students, and I've already showed this to most of you guys, the first move that students want to make is this move. And it's a move that makes a lot of sense. We're moving a pawn into the game, and we're attacking the queen. Oftentimes, that would be a really, really good move. The problem here is that white made a threat when he played this move, and the threat was to take this pawn on e5. And here it's going to be really, really devastating for black. White comes to e5, and white has now created a fork. And if you remember when I've talked about forks before, a fork is when we are attacking two pieces at the same time. Pause the video for 20 seconds and see if you can figure out which two pieces that white is attacking at the same time. Okay, hopefully you were able to come up with the answer here. The white queen is giving check to the king. A check is always a great example of a fork. And also, the queen is attacking the rook on h8. This is going to be a really, really good fork. And no matter what black does here, white is going to win a rook for free. You know, a rook is worth 5 points, so within the fourth move of the game, white's going to be up 5 points with a really, really good start. So we want to make sure that we don't fall for this opening trap, and we don't want to play this move to g6. Instead, what we have to do is we have to defend this pawn on e5. And there is 2, 3, 4, 5 different ways that black can defend this pawn on e5. Pause the video for 30 seconds and see if you can come up with all 5 ways that we can defend this pawn on e5. Okay, hopefully you were able to come up with some of them. The first move here is this pawn to d6. A lot of times we can offer support with another pawn. And this pawn would now offer defense to that pawn on e5. So that would be one way here. Also, we can develop our knight on b8 to c6. This knight is now offering defense to this pawn on e5. We can also move our bishop out here. Now, you've probably heard me say this before, but typically this is not a good way to develop our bishop. And the main reason is that it blocks this d7 pawn from moving into the game. And because this d7 pawn cannot move, it then blocks this c8 bishop from getting into the game. It's typically not a good strategy for us to be blocking our own pieces from getting into the game. So that's not a move that we would want to play, but it is a move that does offer defense to that e5 pawn. There's two more moves here. The queen can defend the pawn on e7 in two ways. The queen can come to e7 and defend the pawn here, or the queen can come to f6 and offer defense here. Now here wouldn't really be much of a defense to consider because white would just capture the queen. So the two moves that I really like the best are developing this pawn and creating this pawn chain right here. That pawn offers really good defense. Or the move I probably like even better is developing our knight, which is something that we've learned to do. We get our bishops and our knights into the game early, and this knight offers defense to this pawn. Now, if white moves his bishop to c4, white has renewed a big threat. Take 20 seconds and pause the video and see if you can come up with this threat. Okay, hopefully you were able to realize that white here is now threatening checkmate. Queen takes f7 will be checkmate. So, how are we going to defend against this checkmate? Again, defenses are all the same, okay? We need to block, defend the square, or capture. Those are the three main ways we're going to play defense. Now, in this situation, we don't have any pieces that can capture either of the attacking pieces, either the white queen or the white bishop. So now we want to find a move that is blocking the queen's path to this f7 square. Pause the video for 15 seconds and see if you can figure out this move. Okay, hopefully you were able to figure out this move here. Pawn to g6. Now, we looked at this move one move ago, and we saw that it was a terrible move because white's queen would come to e5 and fork the king and the rook. However, one move later, this is a very different situation, and white's queen can no longer take this pawn safely because we capture the queen easily. So in fact, this g6 move is a really good move here. It makes a lot of sense. We get this pawn into the game. It's protected by two pawns. It's really strong pawn. And we've blocked the queen's path to this f7 square. Now if white retreats his bishop, he has once again made another threat. Pause the video for 15 seconds and see if you can figure out the threat that he has made. Okay, once again, white is threatening to take this pawn on f7 with the queen, and that would be checkmate. So, how does black block the queen's path to this square? Pause the video and take 15 seconds and see if you can figure out how black blocks the queen's path to f7, to this f7 square right here. Okay, hopefully you were able to figure out black has, in fact, two moves that they can make to block the queen's path. We can either bring our knight out here, and white cannot just simply capture this knight because the knight has defense from the queen. So this knight move would, in fact, block the queen's path to this square, to the f7 square. Now we could also move the queen out, and the queen will also block the queen's path to f7. And if white takes the queen, we simply capture back with our knight. So in both those instances, we were able to block white's queen from getting to that square, and we were able to stop checkmate. Now, there's another way to get out of checkmate here, and the other way we play defense is to defend the square. So we want to move a piece that is going to protect this pawn so that if white comes down here with his queen and takes it, we are able to capture that queen. So pause the video for 15 seconds and see if you can figure out the move that black can play to defend this pawn on f7. Hopefully you're able to figure out that simply by moving our queen either to this square, that offers protection to that pawn, or we can actually move the queen to this square, and from here we will also offer protection to this pawn. So this is really important to know these moves so that we are not getting checkmated in 4 moves and we can start the game safely and get our pieces into the game. Thanks for watching.